Good morning. Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. This morning I was reading out of John 13 and I came across one of my favorite passages that really speaks to me. Jesus has just washed the feet of his apostles. Now, his apostles have been fussing about which one was most important and which one was most critical to the mission for Jesus and the kingdom of God. And they're all jockeying for position. And in the midst of their jockeying for position, Jesus just gets up and starts doing the most servant thing in that day, which is washing their feet. You got to remember, they didn't wear their Nikes or their good dress shoes. They had sandals. Feet got dirty. The roads weren't paved. Washing feet was nasty, dirty business, but it was an important business because inside you wanted some air of cleanliness anyway. And so it was typically the task of the servant or the least of everyone to do the foot washing. No reason for everybody to get their hands wet. And of course, they didn't have sinks or showers to wash their feet in. It's a arduous process with a bowl and a rag. So Jesus, while the apostles are just fussing over who's best and most important, Jesus gets up and he begins to wash their feet. And when he's done, he has something very profound to say on multiple levels. He begins by saying, basically, hey, have you seen what I've done here washing feet? And then in verse 13, he says this, you call me teacher and Lord. That's good because I am your teacher and your Lord. But then in verse 14, he flips the order of those. In verse 14, he says, if I am your Lord and your teacher. See, they called him teacher and Lord, but Jesus was saying, if I'm your Lord and your teacher, then you need to be doing this. You need to learn the lesson from this. It's an interesting switch there, and it's one that speaks to me because I know Jesus was a good teacher. I know that I can read the teachings of Jesus and think, yes, that's very wise. Blessed are the peacemakers. Oh, yes, they are. I need to be a peacemaker. That's a good thing. Or Jesus models humility. That's a good thing. And Jesus teaches me to love my neighbor. He's a good teacher. He told good stories, parables that I really enjoy, like the prodigal son. Yes, very good teacher, Jesus. And yeah, he's Lord too, but that's just secondary. No, Jesus says it's not secondary, it's primary. He says, don't you call me teacher and Lord, but if I am your Lord first, and then your teacher, you're going to do what I tell you to. It's one thing to look at Jesus and say, very admirable teaching, very good idea. It's another thing to bow before him as your Lord and to say, my Lord, I will do as you say. So when I look at today and I think through this passage and I use it as my video thought for the day, I'm going to really try to focus on not just hearing what Jesus says, knowing what God models and teaches, but actually putting him as Lord first in my life and doing what he says, following his footsteps. That's my video thought for the day, and I hope it's yours as well. I'll see you tomorrow.